What if a child's forever home was delayed, not because they didn't have people wanting to adopt, but because there wasn't a dedicated team to call the right people at the right time? These aren't hypotheticals, these are potential solutions. I'm gonna share 2 common sense changes that can help improve the foster care system. This is my first long form video with C.A.P.E Conversations, so thank you for joining me. These videos aren't about pointing the finger, they're about looking in the mirror and saying, what can I bring to the table? What type of solutions are available? What ideas do I have? These 2 simple changes can help start the conversation, and I look forward to hearing your input. Let's get started. You want to adopt a child that's already had the trauma of being removed from their biological family. Your heart is in the right place. But here's the reality. A heart is not just what you need. You need the skills to communicate with empathy, patience, grace, and emotional intelligence. And I'm not just talking about communicating with the child, I'm talking about communicating with everyone in that child's orbit. Caseworkers, relatives, adoption workers, foster families, the court system. Miscommunication leads to mistrust, and that mistrust can lead to instability. So here's what I suggest. Require standardized, evidence-based interpersonal communication training with everyone that is potentially going to foster or adopt a child from the foster system. This training should focus on navigating hard conversations, giving constructive feedback, thinking beyond your initial emotional reaction, and collaborating with people who have different goals or communication styles, finding common ground. When we don't communicate effectively or communicate with empathy, the kids are the ones that get hurt. The last thing these children need are adults who are inconsistent with their communication or communicating in a way that does not align with the ultimate goal to prioritize, take care of, and keep these kids safe. Idea number 2, and I know this will cost money, but we need a dedicated post-TPR assessment team. TPR stands for Termination of Parental Rights. So this is when the child is officially and legally available to be adopted. And from my perspective, this is something that makes so much sense that it doesn't make sense that we haven't already implemented a version of this. One of the most common scenarios that disrupts the adoption process is when a child is now post-TPR. When a child is post-TPR, this means they should be close to adoption, but we find so many times that they're so far away. We should be speeding towards permanency at this stage, but instead, people are coming out of the woodwork. They might say, no one told me the child was up for adoption. They might say, I never had a fair shot. They might say, I didn't want to adopt before, but I do now. And suddenly, this child is in limbo. And what does this all mean for the child? More delays to their forever home. A child that, because of no fault of their own, has to wait on that process because we're not doing things on the front end that we should. So I'm proposing a post-TPR placement assessment team. This is this team's only job. And I know in the child welfare system, when you give someone one job, it really means that last line in the job description that says all other duties to be assigned. But this team should only have the following responsibilities. Proactively contact all potential placements. This includes friends, family, previous foster placements, previous adoptive parents who might have a sibling in that group. We then assess each one's capacity and intentions to adopt, and we do it within a hard deadline of 90 days. I'm not saying the adoption is going to be done in 90 days, but 90 days is plenty of time to gather a list post-TPR of people who want to give a forever home to this child. If they can't make a definitive position within 90 days of post-TPR, they should no longer be considered for adoption of that particular child. After that 90-day window closes, the child is then placed on a 6-month track to be adopted. 6 months being the deadline. It's clear, it's fair, and it's child-focused. No more uncertainty, no more last-second interest. Just urgency, stability, and accountability. So those are my 2 ideas. 1, require anyone fostering or adopting through the foster care system to have interpersonal communication training. 2, every adoption agency should have a dedicated post-TPR placement assessment team. Look, these ideas won't fix everything. And if we did start working towards these ideas, there's a lot of nuance to both that we'd have to flesh out. But we can't succeed in the big ideas without first having conversation about the small initial steps. Look, caring for our children, protecting the most vulnerable population is a bipartisan issue. This requires everyone, and there is no excuse for why we're not constantly reevaluating our systems and putting ideas and solutions in place. It starts with conversations, so talk to me. If you already know of these ideas existing, whether they be in Florida or another state, let me know in the comments, and let's keep having CAPE conversations.